Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me one quick favor, see that little black subscribe button on the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, hit that little black subscribe button. Really does help this channel grow, my audience grow, and I appreciate it more than you know. Also, quick thank you to our presenting sponsor, Betfred Sportsbook and the Betfred Sportsbook app. Bet $50 on any game. Get up to $1,111 in free bets courtesy of the Betfred Sportsbook. Thank you again. Now, here's the video that you came here for. As I just said, the plan is not to talk about Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, every single episode. But as I said to lead, this man creates so much emotion in everybody. You have guys like me who love him, think he's been great for college football, think he's been great for kids, think he's been great for Colorado, whatever. You have people that can't stand him. And I think you have a small percentage of people that say like, wow, he's exceeded expectations, but let's see what happens when they play USC and Utah and Oregon next week. So Coach Prime creates quite a bit of emotion in any which direction. And apparently that includes the coach that he is facing this weekend. Don't know how many of you knew the name of the Colorado State head coach prior to Thursday morning, but you certainly do now, as Jay Norvell, the head coach, Colorado State. Oh, he had some thoughts on Coach Prime, and they were not pretty. By now, you guys and girls all know what was said, but just as a quick refresher for people who do not know, Colorado State is playing Colorado this weekend in Boulder, and on Thursday night, during his coaches show, so basically all the coaches have radio shows on the Tuesday, Wednesday before a game, sometimes Thursday, Norvell was asked about the game, and here is what he had to say. He said, I sat down with ESPN today, and I don't care if they hear it in Boulder. I told them, ESPN, I took my hat off. I took my glasses off, and I said, when I talk to grownups, I take my hat and glasses off. That's what my mother taught me. He continued, they're not going to like us no matter what we say or do. It doesn't matter, okay? So let's go up there and play. That's just how I feel about it. So I don't mean to take over the show, but I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of all the stuff, and I know everybody else is too. So let's go and play. That is what Jay Norvell said on Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Again, essentially basically saying, when I look adults in the eye, I take my hat and sunglasses off. And then when it got back to Colorado, and it's funny because I did an update earlier that I was going to run on Friday, but then Coach Prime responded. First, he put out a very kind of innocent tweet on social media, basically said, focus on yourself. It's not about you. But then, because it's Colorado, because they have the best media team in the country led by Deion Sanders Jr., Well-Off Media put out a couple clips from practice on Thursday. And yeah, you can tell that while they're going to say all the right things publicly, Colorado is not happy. Here's what Coach Prime told his team about the situation. He said, I'm minding my own business, watching some film, trying to get ready, trying to get out here to be the best coach I can be. And I look and read some bull junk today that it was said about us. Once again, why would you want to talk about us when we don't talk about nobody? All we do is come out here, work our butts off, and do our job Saturday. But when they give us ammunition, they make us what? To which his players responded, made it personal. It was just going to be a good game. They messed around and made it, the players responded, personal. So Jay Norvell, I don't know if you fully realize what you were doing, but listen, I'm far from a college football coach. I never will be. I'm not here to tell you how to draw up plays or what coverage to call or what player to get the ball in the hands of. But the one thing I can tell you, don't piss off Colorado. Don't piss off Coach Prime. And I think this is about to get ugly. Now, a couple things here. One, in some ways, I actually kind of respect Jay Norvell. I don't think that he fully realized just how big this was going to get, but I think he kind of had an idea, right? You poke the dragon, you poke the bear, you poke maybe the biggest name in college football in Coach Prime, you're going to get a response. And so I don't have a problem with normal rivalry talk. And I sort of respect that Jay Norvell even went so far as to say, I don't care if they hear it in Boulder. Now, at the same time, I don't think he realized he was going to turn himself into the biggest story in sports. And that's what this is right now. I'm recording here about 5:30 on Thursday night. My guess is at some point before kickoff, he issues some sort of statement or apology. But listen, at least as of when he said it, he owned it. We don't care if they hear it in Colorado, in Boulder. At the same time, let me say a couple things. One, didn't love it because in my opinion, it went well beyond normal rivalry talk, okay? And maybe you guys can disagree, maybe you don't, whatever. But the bottom line is, look, we're all sports fans. We all played. We all had rivals. We all whatever. And why I bring it up, rivalry talk is the best smack talk, right? Talk about the school, talk about the players, talk about the uniforms, talk about the whatever. Where I don't love what Norvell did here, it didn't strike me as he's talking about Colorado or the school or the rivalry or even necessarily Coach Prime. Did you hear what he said at the end of that sentence? He said, when I talk to grownups, I take my hat and glasses off. That's what my mother taught me. And so to me, this goes beyond football. This goes beyond smack talk. This is talking about a man's family. And we all know the code. We all know how things go off the field. And the one thing you don't do, you don't talk about another man's family. You want to talk about him as a coach, him as a player, the school, the uniforms, the whatever. Don't bring family into it, especially, by the way, when the family isn't even part of the team. And you don't bring a man's mother into it, which is kind of what this implies, right? I was raised right. He was raised wrong. Well, you can forgive Coach Prime for being mad because I would be mad too, and I guarantee you would be as well. By the way, Coach Prime has a great relationship with his mom. If you watch that Amazon Prime show that was out a year ago when he was at Jackson State, there was a couple times he talked to her at halftime. He'd just flat out call her during halftime a game. She'd be watching on TV. She'd say, honey, I love you, but I don't love what you did on 3rd and long in the late first quarter. So Coach Prime has a great relationship with his mother. It does become personal, whether you want to or not. But two, I especially don't think this particular team is the one you should go after, beyond the fact that I think he took it too far talking about Coach Prime's mom. And that's because you don't want to talk about this team specifically because there isn't a single team in college football that can turn any little slight into something that motivates them quite like this team. Listen, you know what this almost reminds me of? And I know it's going to sound like hyperbole. It almost reminds me of Michael Jordan and The Last Dance. Okay, I'm not saying Colorado's the Michael Jordan of college football. I'm not saying Coach Prime is Michael Jordan of college football coaching. But if you watch that documentary, what was the thing Michael Jordan kept saying over and over again? And that's when I took it personal. And what was interesting about that documentary is there were times where stuff didn't even happen and he'd make stuff up in his head to get himself mad. Remember LeBradford Smith? He claimed, LeBradford Smith, he talked that smack and I came out the next night. I gave him the work. And then you find out after Michael, actually, they had never said that to him and he had to make that up in his head to get himself motivated. I'm not saying Colorado is making anything up, but they have done a good job of using outside influence to motivate them. Some schools, some coaches say, we don't listen to what's being said outside. Colorado is listening to everything, and they are clearly using it come Saturday. We know about TCU. We know about the fact that they didn't like that Sonny Dykes kept saying, we're tired of hearing about Colorado. We know that Coach Prime kept receipts, listened to what everybody in the media said. Apparently not me, because I've been mostly complimentary since he got the job. But people don't realize, like they listen to everything. And so he kept his receipts, brought it up for TCU. And then, of course, last week with Nebraska, right? Because my whole thing is Matt Rule is kind of like the most vanilla guy that has ever lived in the history of the world. And so the idea that they found something that he said 6 months ago about, I don't have cameras in front of my face all the time. And they kept it and they used it and it motivated them. That's what Colorado does. And that's what they've been very good in doing through 2 games. By the way, this goes back to last year. Do you remember the situation? Eddie Robinson Jr., who is not the son of the Grambling State head coach. Let me look this up real quick. Eddie Robinson Jr., remember that game? If you don't remember, let me just say it really quickly. Colorado, Coach Prime was coaching Jackson State at that time. They beat Alabama State really bad. And Eddie Robinson came up or earlier in the week had said something like, you're not swag, we don't respect you, and then they got their butt kicked. And so now you're Jay Norvell 3 days before this game, and I get it's a coach's show. I get you're in a bar with all your fans, but this is not something you say. Not to this team, not in this rivalry, not in this moment. And I think you obviously crossed the line as well by making it personal with the family. So we'll get into our week 3 preview here momentarily, but I'm not going to beat around the bush in terms of my picks. I already had Colorado State over 60.5 as one of my best bets. It's going to get ugly on Saturday. You think that Colorado isn't going to take this personal? You think they're not going to be ready to go? You think they're not going to be ready to put up points on points on points? Like, it became a trending topic on Twitter. Colorado by 100, Colorado by 40, whatever it was. They are going to score and score often and make an example out of you. So Jay Norvell, if I can give you one piece of advice, if I can give the 9 remaining coaches on Colorado's schedule a piece of advice, they're good enough without you motivating them. Now, I'm not saying they're the best team in college football. I'm not saying they're better than USC or Oregon or whatever. But you think Lincoln Riley's going to be dumb enough to say something before they play Colorado and motivate them? Think Dan Lanny's going to be dumb enough to say something about Colorado and motivate them? Think Kyle Whittingham in a few weeks when they play Utah to end the regular season going to say something dumb and motivate them? Me neither. Jay Norvell, big mistake. And if it gets ugly, you have no one to blame but yourself. All right, so what we're going to do, take